Welcome back to Enter the Abyss, everyone. Sorry for the delay.
Yeah, I don't think we've published anything for, 2 weeks now?
Yeah, at least 2 weeks. It seems really long, but, with our dear friend COVID going on, and it's just been a crazy time with work and all that fun stuff. But we're back. We're ready to record. We've got some pretty crazy stuff to talk about today. But before we start, just wanted to say, Cleet, congratulations. You graduated the University of Utah.
I am now officially in my ivory tower.
Good for you.
I demand respect.
Well, you're not going to get any from me. As far as I see it, we're still equals.
We're back, baby. Let's film this. We have a special treat tonight. I will be going over the possible graveyard found at the bottom of Lake Tahoe. And Britton, what are you talking about?
I'm going to talk about an island in Mexico that's just full of dolls.
Dude, fucking dolls are scary, especially those porcelain ones. Have you seen those?
Yeah, the most innocent looking ones, in my opinion, are the scariest. You know, the Annabelle movie that they made, it's based off of the real doll. The real Raggedy Ann Annabelle is way scary, but the movie that they made, it just doesn't quite do it for me.
Yeah, I would love to see it in that display case. Is it still locked up?
Yeah, it's still locked up, man. And it's got like the little... like the thing that says positively do not open. Yeah, it looks really creepy. It's like this wood box with glass that's like supposedly from church windows.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you, though. What's the films that have them in there? What is that? What is it? Insidious? Yeah, it's Insidious.
No, it's Annabelle. But I will tell you, though, I mean, we are practicing our social distancing here. If you can't tell, I wanted to say this. If our audio is a little off, we apologize. We're recording from... like 40 miles away from each other in our own houses because we want to stay safe, right? That's how we're supposed to beat this thing, is to stay safe and social distance.
It's not even because of the coronavirus. It's because me and Britton got into a fight and we hate each other so much that we can't stand being within 40 miles of each other.
Yeah, that's the real problem.
That is the real reason. All right.
But I will say, though, the one cool thing about this week is a new Stephen King book came out. That's been helping me with this whole quarantine thing.
Oh, what is it about?
Well, it's called If It Bleeds, and it's got like 3 or 4 short stories in it. And they're pretty crazy. So if you are a fan of Stephen King or horror in general, I suggest picking it up.
I probably scared my parents as a kid because I would only buy Stephen King books. I have a huge library actually in one of my closets here, and it's just full of Stephen King books. Since I was 10, that's all I read.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I've got a bookshelf, and it's littered with Stephen King. I think I read my first Stephen King book. I don't want to sound bad, but like in 6th grade, dude. I started really young.
Yeah, same here. What's your favorite one?
So far, I really like Desperation. That was a really good one. Yeah,
what's that about?
It's like the mining town that has like the ghost in it, or like the evil spirit that like possesses the cop that terrorizes the travelers that come through.
Interesting. My favorite one is the Long Walk. If you've heard of that, it's actually not even a horror one, really. It's about people that have to they enter a competition where they just have to keep walking over 4 miles per hour, and if they stop, they get 3 warnings, and if not, they get shot. Yeah. Last one gets whatever they want.
I mean, I guess that can be classified as horror. I mean, I wouldn't want to enter that competition.
It was a good book. I liked it a lot.
You stop, you die. I mean, anything Stephen King does is great. I'm going to be honest, though. I mean, if anyone's hearing this and has, connections to Mr. King, I would love to interview him on the podcast. I think that's kind of like the biggest thing I'd love to do on this show.
Oh, my God. I would like to get David Pilates on here, too. We'll do stories about him, disappearances in the wilderness. That would be my, fucking crown jewel of this podcast, if we could get him on here.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's jump into this.
Let's do it, man.
I was actually going to do a different topic tonight, but I was perusing Reddit, and I found something so disturbing to me that I actually lost sleep. I'm not even kidding. It was about a week ago, and after I started digging into this rabbit hole, I probably got about 2 hours of sleep one night because I just could not stop thinking about it.
It's so interesting that all of your topics come like late at night. Like it's the next morning you'll text me like, "Oh, dude, I'm going to do this," because it's like 3 a.m.
At night I read a lot of Reddit, and sometimes I find some weird stuff.
And you wonder why you can't sleep.
So there's a conspiracy theory that Lake Tahoe has 1,000 or more bodies at the bottom of the lake. Have you heard about that?
No, but I'd been to Lake Tahoe when I was really, really young, and I don't think I'm ever going to go back. So thanks, Dick.
A little bit background on here because Lake Tahoe is a pretty deep lake. A lot of its locals used to say that it was a bottomless lake and that there was tunnels under it that would connect to other lakes.
An underground lake system.
So only recently have we done like radar tests on there, and they've determined the lake at its deepest point, 1,650 feet.
Holy shit.
Right? Because to me, that's almost incomprehensible. I remember when I was a kid, I would go to like the local pool in our neighborhood, and I would drop a penny down to the deep end, which was about 10 feet, right? And I would dive down there and get the penny and bring it back up. I remember that it was so deep when I would get to the very bottom of it that my ears would hurt when I came back up because of the water pressure.
Yeah. We had a pool growing up at my dad's house, and I think at its deepest point was like 10 and a half feet. And same thing, you get to the bottom and you're like, holy shit. Your ears start to hurt, a lot of pressure, so you come back up. Like, I can't even fathom 1,650 feet.
Right. Just to put it mathematically, the deepest part of the lake is 165 times deeper than the bottom of the pool. And to me, that's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just, it's insane. To actually try to put this in perspective, when you go scuba diving, you generally only go about 130 feet down. So only trained scuba divers go past that, and they hesitate to go past 400 feet. Because after that, the nitrogen starts to get compressed in your skin. And if you go up too quickly, you'll suffer from decompression sickness.
And it reminds me of an episode of House when it was on. I don't know if you ever watched House, but there was an episode where a guy went scuba diving and, came up really quick, did his own thing, and then the next day got on a plane. And so it's like complete polar opposites, but he was like shaking and convulsing and like his blood was doing some weird thing. But yeah, I mean, you're supposed to decompress before you come up that deep.
Exactly. Or you just need to travel at a certain rate to go back up, right? When I was a kid in elementary school, I don't know what teacher told me this or why, but they would tell me, if you're ever scuba diving, never go up faster than your air bubbles. Did you ever hear that?
No, but that's a good rule of thumb.
I mean, it is to a degree. It depends on how deep you are, but
I feel like your bubbles go up really fast, so I feel like I'd have a hard time keeping up with my bubbles.
It was definitely a cautionary tale that stayed into my head So the deeper you go, the slower you need to ascend to make sure this does not come to a fatal outcome, because this actually can kill you. Current world record for a scuba diver is held by Ahmed Gabir, who descended 1,000 feet.
Holy shit.
It only took him 12 minutes to reach the depth, but the trip back took more than 15 hours as he didn't want to die from decompression.
Okay, there is absolutely no way in hell I would ever go half that depth. And then, secondly, I'm not going to try and spend 15 fucking hours coming back up to the surface. Like, absolutely not.
Yeah, so when I was reading this theory, I was like, at what point can like a human, how far can they go down, right? Until they die. So theoretically, scientists have said that you can go up to 5,000 feet before you get killed by the compression force of just the water above you. But no one's done it because you can't just go back up. Like, you would be down there for so long before you'd be able to come back up. Let's go back to why people believe there are thousands of bodies at the bottom of Lake Tahoe. So this theory is about decomposition. The lake itself is extremely cold, especially when you go deeper into its depths. At 600 feet, the temperature is a constant 39 degrees, and it only gets colder from there. The chill can almost stop decomposition completely. Proof of this is found when authorities found the body of a man named Donald Christopher Windecker, whom was recovered in Lake Tahoe in 2011. He had lost his life earlier while scuba diving in the lake, and his body descended to 265 feet deep. He wasn't found until 17 years later, and his body was perfectly preserved. Isn't that crazy? God. And that's not even like, that's like an eighth of the depth, and he was fine.
So 17 years later, so they knew that he had died, and it took him 17 years to find his body.
Well, yeah, because Lake Tahoe is a big lake. It's hard to find bodies. And just as like a little piece of candy here, right here, if you were to drown in the deepest part of the lake, I don't think people would even try to find you. It would be too expensive.
Yeah, I mean, to try and find you would be putting your life at risk. So, I mean, at what expense do you try and find a body at the expense of other human lives, right?
Well, it's the cost, right? Because you can't send a scuba diver down there. You can't send someone down to grab you and pull you up. It would have to be a submarine. This definitely explains kind of the foundation of why Lake Tahoe could have bodies lurking in its depths. But where would these bodies come from is the question.
The mafia is dumping them in there.
Actually,
well, I mean, if you think about it, I mean,
it's in Nevada. It's in Nevada.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, if you want to make someone disappear and you know that Lake Tahoe, I mean, there's thousands of bodies and they're not going to go down to try and find you, that's where you're dumping them.
Well, you actually beat me to the punch here because you're right. So there's stories from Sergeant Pete Van Arnhem, who was talking about conversations he had with mafia members disposing bodies in Lake Tahoe, which I don't know how he got into this situation. They were saying in the 1950s, they would tie people up, attach them to something heavy, and they would throw them into the lake alive. They preferred this because when their lungs filled up with water, they would lose their buoyancy and would never come back up.
Eesh.
This dumping is still rumored to be going on today. And this is really what made me lose sleep. Could you imagine being tied up, have a couple cinder blocks tied to you as well, and someone throws you over a boat into Lake Tahoe at its deepest point?
Nope.
That would be the worst thing that could, I am so afraid of drowning.
I mean, not even just Lake Tahoe, any lake. I mean, you have cinder blocks, people throw you in, you're done for. That's scary as shit no matter where you are. But yeah, to be consistently, because I would imagine you're alive for a while. I mean, if you're panicking, you're sucking in all that water. I mean, this is kind of morbid. We're talking about drowning. But I mean, yeah, you're going to fall for a very long time and you're going to freeze and
exactly.
die.
So when I was being restless at that night, I was thinking about being thrown over, and you just see the light slowly and slowly dissipate as it becomes darker and darker, colder and colder, and you're struggling with your fight and flight mechanisms, knowing that you're doomed.
You know, normal people, Cleet, when they can't sleep, they count sheep or something, or they listen to a story. You look up Reddit, find some theory about Lake Tahoe, and then imagine what it would be like to be sinking into the deepest part.
What can I say? I have empathy, okay? So I know this sounds weird, but I don't want to be buried necessarily. But the idea of you sinking to the bottom of a lake and never being found bothers me.
Yeah.
Your body is just down there, perfectly preserved for hundreds and hundreds of years, and no one will ever find you.
Well, I mean, I would imagine at some point, I mean, because there's only so many bodies that can be floating around before, they've got nowhere else to go but up.
You don't float, dude. That's the whole point.
Yeah, but if there's so many bodies that they start to run out of space, some of them are gonna bump up.
The reason why people don't come up from Lake Tahoe is it's so cold that the gas that builds up in corpses that brings you up to the top of the lake doesn't happen. Oh, you stay down there. That's the reason.
I see.
Another thing that bothered me is when thinking about that guy who went down 1,000 feet. Okay, it took him I don't know, was it 12 minutes? I said.
Yeah.
So imagine going down super quick because you're chained to cinder blocks, and somehow you get out of your constraints 3 minutes in. You probably would still die trying to swim up from decompression sickness. You're fucked.
Yeah.
You're done.
Yeah, essentially.
It's over. So there's another rumor of mass bodies being dumped in there, and that's coming from the railroad company in the 1860s. So they hired a bunch of Chinese workers, and rumor has it that instead of paying them, they just chained them all together, or a lot of them, and just threw them into Lake Tahoe.
What the fuck? Bullshit. Yeah. You're kidding.
No, it's a rumor. I'm not saying it happened.
They just chained him up and tossed him in?
Yeah, because they didn't want to pay their wages. It was cheaper to do that. Also, another interesting rumor around the lake is people say there was a filmmaker named Jacques Cousteau. I probably said that wrong. It's French. Kazakh?
No, it's Jacques Cousteau.
So he was interested in filming a documentary about the lake, and it's rumored he's the only person who used a little submarine to go to the very bottom of the lake. And when he came back up, he was not going to do the documentary because the world wasn't ready for what he saw down there.
Oh, God, that makes me want to watch it even more. I'm ready.
To me, with all these rumors going on, I'm like, well, why hasn't anybody like gone down there? What's going on? And some people, so some locals are saying that they feel like there's powerful people in the area that are stopping like excavations going down to the bottom of the lake because they want to keep dumping bodies there.
They want to keep doing it.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're a powerful person, got to get rid of people. I mean, it's probably a very good place to do it. No one's ever going to find, or no one's going to find out about what you're doing down there.
No, you can't do the excavation. I'm not done making people sleep with the fishes.
The last thing I wanted to go over, and I don't know why, but this really did bother me a lot, is at the very bottom of the lake, there is a counterclockwise current that's always going on down there, meaning that all these corpses are just moving in a circle in a dance that'll never end.
Oh, God.
It's just fucking disturbing.
I wonder if that's what he saw, and he's like, oh, you guys aren't ready for this shit. There's no way you're ready for what I saw.
I mean, it's really interesting. Could you imagine, let's say something causes a body from the bottom to go up, if it's all true, and it's like a Chinese railroad worker from 140 years ago that's perfectly preserved. It would be an interesting sight, but nonetheless disturbing.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to be there when, this body comes popping up, or if something changes and all these bodies just come. Can you imagine like all the bodies at once just shooting up to the surface?
Yeah, there's some people talk about if there's an earthquake ever, like right on Lake Tahoe, and there is all those bodies that they could all come up at one time. Be sitting there boating, doing some wakeboarding or whatever they call it, and all of a sudden you hear a little bit of vibrations. Boom, surrounded by bodies. Dead
Thousands
bodies
of
everywhere.
Bodies. Perfectly preserved bodies. That's the crazy thing too. Is like they wouldn't be like you said, like decomposing. They'd be perfectly preserved.
Would you be the guy on the wakeboard being like, oh, wow, those are perfectly preserved bodies?
I'm like, these guys are ruining my wakeboarding. There's too many bumps now.
Well, that's all I got for you in regards to that. I just found a very interesting rumor that I've never heard before, so I wanted to put it on our podcast.
Well, thank you, Cleet, for sharing your late night thoughts with us. I'm curious to see what you come up with next in the middle of the night when you're trying to put yourself down.
And only horse tranquilizer will help me.
Oh, God. Well, as I said earlier, my topic takes place in Mexico on an island that is full of dolls called, and I apologize if I'm going to butcher any pronunciation on this, but Isla de las Muñecas, translated to Island of the Dolls.
So it's just an island full of dolls?
Oh, yeah. And it's insane. Like the pictures and the videos that I saw, this is now a location that I would love to visit at some point. So like we keep saying, like if we have the opportunity to travel to this place, Cleet, we're going. We're absolutely going to check this thing out.
You know what? Like I bet there's a ton of fucking spiders too next to those dolls.
Oh yeah, that's actually in here. So thanks for the spoiler. You
fuck.
fuck.
We'll just edit it out. We'll edit it out.
Okay,
go ahead.
So again, there's an island that's just south of Mexico City between the Xochimilco canals that has quite the scary background. It's actually a tourist attraction now for a very, very intense reason. The Island of Dolls literally gets its name from the thousands of dolls hanging from trees and buildings around the island.
How does a bunch of dolls get hung up on trees in random places?
It just happened, man. Like the winds came through and just they got stuck there.
Bullshit.
No, we'll get into the legend of it. So the legend starts around the 1950s, and a man living on the island, or the caretaker of the island, his name was Don Julian Santana.
Santana reminds me of NASCAR. I don't know why.
Yeah, right. So again, around that time, sometime around the mid 20th century, Don Julian left his wife and family to be alone on the island. Now, the reasons aren't really completely known, but it's clear that he was not sound of mind. And some people say that he left because of a broken heart, but he left his entire family behind just to go live in solace on this island.
No, I feel like maybe he might be getting the wrong judgment on here. Maybe his wife was a jerk, and he was just like, you know what? I'm going to go to this abandoned island. I'm going to set up shop here.
I'm going to live alone. Yeah, there's no stories that say why he did it. It's just that he was, I guess, fed up and wanted to go live by himself. Now, the legend states that a young woman was drowning with mysterious circumstances. She was tangled up in the lilies of the canal, and Don Julian tried to save her but couldn't. So she ended up dying and like completely just destroyed his entire life, and he's just really, really, shattered by it and shaken up. And her body kind of washed up on the banks of the Santampa Chinampas. I'm probably butchering the shit out of this. Now, shortly after, a doll floated up around the same place where the girl had died, and Santana fished the doll out of the water thinking that it belonged to the girl, and out of respect, he hung the doll from a tree to try and appease her spirit.
So hang on here. So you're saying he hung up the doll. Was this girl a little bit of younger age that would have a doll?
Yeah, it just says a young girl, so I didn't have any
Okay.
age, and the reason why, which we'll get into a little bit later, but there's rumors that this didn't actually happen. The girl dying, it's like he made it up, but it was a younger girl who would have had a doll.
Okay.
So, he finds this doll and he's like, okay, to appease her spirit, I'm gonna hang it from a tree, which I don't know, it's a little morbid to me. Like, hey, here's your doll, I'm gonna hang it. It just doesn't seem like it would appease a spirit. I mean, maybe keep it in your I don't know, maybe not keep it in your house because dolls are fuck it up and possessed.
What does spirits want, anyways? I don't know.
Let's just keep this doll. Why not? So soon after, right, he hangs the doll from the tree. He thinks things are good. But shortly after, he starts to experience extremely scary, unexplainable situations and occurrences. After he hung the girl's doll from the tree, Don Julian began to hang dolls around the island that he found in dumpsters or floating in the canals, thinking that they would scare off the souls of the young woman. So he started to hear like whispers like throughout the island. Now again, he's alone on this island. He's miles away from civilization. So he can't hear people unless they're on the island with him. So he starts to hear these whispers and these like people talking. So he starts to get nervous and he finds these dolls that are either washed up on the canal or he finds them in dumpsters and while he's in town, and he starts to hang them all around the island just by trees and by like the little hut that he lives in, and just starts just hanging them everywhere, man. Like it's, I don't know, he just wants to get the spirit out of there.
Okay, so that makes sense. So he keeps hanging up dolls because he keeps feeling like this spirit is haunting him. Okay.
Exactly. And he seems to think that the more dolls he has, it's going to now scare the spirit off rather than appease it. So as he's hanging all of these dolls, he claims that the spirit of the young girl would scream, "I want my doll!" And she would just scream it in the middle of the night. And he was just terrified. Like, he's like, fuck this, I'm not going to do it. So he was so scared that he spent the next 50 years of his life hanging dolls around the island. So for 50 years, you can imagine how many dolls he put on this island.
He's probably just trying to find the right doll.
Yeah. The
Keeps
one
on
that finds
dreams.
and
You're like, oh well, I didn't hang it up. Hang on a sec. Let me go get.
it's like, oh, you don't like this doll. Okay, let's try this one. So really at this point it's just a matter of finding the right doll, or that's what he was thinking, was to find the perfect doll or as many dolls as he could get. Now, the crazy thing is if he didn't find whole dolls, like he might find a limb, like an arm of a doll or a leg or even just a head, and he would use those as well.
And you're saying he's finding this all in like dumpsters and things like that?
Yeah. So when he went to town, like he still had to go to town for some things. Like, I mean, you have to go to get some food. I mean, there's only so much he could grow on the island. So he would go to town and scavenge the dumpsters or even buy some from shops. If he found a doll, he would buy them and then any that washed up on the canal. So I don't know how many there were, but there's a fuck ton of dolls on this island. So I imagine he was able to get quite a few of them in his time. But again, any dolls that he could find or any limbs, anything. So there's like literally there's like doll heads hanging from trees and some that he would just put on a spike in the ground and he would tie like arms and legs up in the trees. Like it's fucked up, man.
Wait. You're saying they're just doll heads, heads of dolls.
Doll heads, doll arms. There's just doll bits everywhere.
Oh my god.
And what you said earlier about the spiders. So because it's like this island, spiders have like just taken over and there's like webs just surrounding these doll parts and through the trees. So it's just an island full of dolls and spider webs and like just murky like river water. It's insane. It's creepy. Those that were actually close to Julian had said that he was so stricken by grief for not being able to save the girl that he lost his mind and was forever changed by hanging these dolls. He became convinced that her spirit was haunting the dolls and would speak and whisper to him at night. So after 50 years, in the year 2001, he was found dead, drowned in the same spot that the girl was said to have drowned.
Well, that must have been one evil spirit, man.
I mean, the same exact spot that he claims to have found her. Now, remember, there's a lot of people who question the reality of this, because some people say that there was no girl that drowned and this is all made up, and that he made that up in his solace on the island because he left his family to live alone. So to have that much alone time in the middle of an island, you're probably going to lose your mind a little bit.
I mean, my biggest question is, like, did he bring someone over and go like, hey, she drowned right here? And like, I don't know how many decades later that same person came back and was like, oh, he drowned right there. I mean, it's very specific that he drowned in that same spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how social was he?
So he would tell the story in towns, and the people that did come to the island, because some people came to the island to see him or whatever, and he would say, here's where I found the girl, right here in this patch of river. Because I guess from the videos I saw, it's like you have to take a boat to the island, which we'll talk about how to get there, but there's only like a waterway that goes through it, so it's a very specific location that she could have drowned, and so it was around the same area where he was found drowned as well.
It like reminds me of let's just say you're walking around and you see some guy. He's like, hey, come to my island. I want to show you all these dolls that are lying around. Would you go?
I'd like to say no, but I think my sick curiosity would lead me there. Because I want to go see this place. I mean, it really is. It's intense. I mean, if you were to Google it, I mean, you're going to see thousands of pictures, and there's videos and stuff on it from people that have gone. Now, again, with those questioning the authenticity of the legend, there are people on the island that actually believe that Julian has joined the spirit on the island is in the dolls as well, or that is in the dolls as well with his spirit. Some locals are very faithful to the island, believing that it is a charmed place.
So like the dolls themselves, like have a spirit in them, like they're moving around, or
yeah. So those that are on the island believe that not just her spirit, but also his spirit is now in the dolls. And the locals on the island are calling this place a charmed place. Like, I would never describe an island full of dolls to be charmed. Like, that's what it doesn't make sense.
That was my question. I'm like, what does charmed mean?
Yeah, I mean, it literally just says that they said that it's a charmed place. But it's now a tourist attraction to this day. And when people go to the island, they bring more dolls with them. So since it's been a tourist location since at least 2002 or 3, I believe, after he died, people bring more dolls to the island. So it's not just the ones that he left, but now there's more that get brought in every single year to this island.
I would love to see that. I bet it's so creepy, especially at night. Could you imagine walking through that?
Yeah, exactly. Ooh. So again, and we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but there's been several articles and TV shows that have featured the island, bringing attention to it and causing more visitors to go, wanting to see the dolls themselves. Now, I was watching a video earlier today just to kind of get like a last little brush up on it, and I guess that like some ferrymen won't take you there because they're so scared of the hauntedness of the island, they won't go there themselves. Only a few will go, and those ones you have to bribe just to take you there, because it's actually not a part of like the local tours. You have to bribe your way to the island.
I wonder if they think there's some type of curse or something if you go over there.
Yeah, some people believe it. And not only that, but there's also a fake doll island, like to try and knock off. Yeah, so some people are like, oh, this is so... Yeah, so it's like the cheap non-name brand island of dolls. But some people are like, oh, this island's so popular, we can profit off of it. So there's like, I think 2 or 3 fake doll islands that some people get conned into going to, and they think they're in the real place. So it's actually a little bit more difficult to get to if you want to go to Mexico City to get there. But there's 3 ports. Only one of the ports in Mexico will actually take you there. So before we go, Cleet, we're going to have to really do our research and make sure we don't end up on like the cheap-ass doll island.
Here on this podcast, we're not going to give you knockoffs. If we get big, we're going to go to that real fucking island. We're going to step through the spider webs, and we're going to touch all the fucking dolls.
I mean, you can. I'm not going through any of those spider webs. I fucking hate spiders.
For our viewers, I will not settle.
Oh, I have to go there, huh? So now the crazy thing is because the island's had so many visitors, a lot of the visitors to the island have made several claims about the haunting properties of the location. Some of them state that the doll's eyes will follow your every move and they can whisper to each other.
Like there's conversations going on.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Between
Different
the dolls.
voices.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Supposedly there's only two, souls on this island, the girl and then Don Julian, so they'd be kind of whispering to each other. But some visitors stated that they were drawn to the island by the voices of the dolls when they were near on a boat. So like they'll be boating by the island and they get called into the island by the voices from the dolls. So a professional photographer by the name of Cindy Vasco visited the island in 2015 and said it was the creepiest place she has ever visited. She describes her excursion on the island began through maze-like canals surrounded by greenery and singing birds, but soon her boat was slowed by a swarm of lily pads and the canal fell ominously silent.
So that's creepy. One thing I've noticed, and this actually happened at your house, Britton, because you live out in the boonies. The absence of noise can be so creepy. So to have that happen where you're just going to an island full of dolls and it just gets quiet, it's unnerving.
Right. And the way that she describes it, like, it's like a calm, like, boat ride through a swarm of lily pads and, the birds are chirping and the crickets are chirping and whatever, all the wildlife's going crazy. And then all of a sudden you turn a corner and your boat kind of slows down because of all the lily pads in the water and it gets super quiet. And then all of a sudden in front of you just see thousands of dolls. And that's what she said. She said at the end of the journey, the trajinera, or the boat that they take, turned along a bend in the waterway, and I was struck by a surreal vision of hundreds, maybe thousands of dolls hanging from trees on the tiny island. Like, no thank you.
I'll pass.
Visitors say that the dolls are extremely scary during broad daylight, but at nighttime, it's an extremely eerie sight. Like, okay, going during the day, sure. Fuck that. I'm not going at night. Are you serious?
Do you feel like it would be desecration if we went there for an episode and I had a big garbage bag and just started putting them in there to throw them away?
I mean, yeah. That's like the sole definition of desecration. You described perfectly desecration.
I want to get on these fucking like haunted dolls' nerves, like bring it on.
Well, I mean, I think your intentions are pure. I think you're just trying to like stop the creepiness of the island. But
they're not. I'm trying to fuck with these ghosts.
Okay, well, you just never stop surprising me, Cleet. Such a dick. So if you are wondering how you can get to this island like myself, it's an 1.5-hour journey from the Embarcadero Cuemanco. Oh, so that's the one port that'll take you there. The Jesus Christ, I apologize, folks. The Embarcadero Cuemanco, and is only accessible via trajinera, which is like a canoe ride through music, party, food, and drink. So it's like, it starts off great, but then you end up in a fuck ton of dolls on this spidery ass island.
I went to this bar, started taking some shots, and all of a sudden I was on an island full of dolls.
I woke up and the dolls were just staring at me and whispering what they wanted to do.
Could you imagine? They're all faced towards you when you wake up. God damn.
No. See, that's what would make me lose sleep. You're like dreaming of like sinking with cinder blocks. I'm thinking of waking up next to fucking spider infested doll parts. No, thank you. So the whole tour, which is roughly about an hour long, will actually take you through the ecological area, the Ajolote Museum, the Apatlaco Canal, the Techulio Lagoon, and the Llorona Island, which I don't know if it goes with La Llorona, which I want to cover later. Along with seeing the creepy-ass dolls, there's a museum on the island that you can visit that has local newspaper articles about the previous owner. There's also a store and 3 rooms, one of which seems to have been a bedroom at one point, probably Don Julian's. In this bedroom is the first doll Julian collected, as well as Agustinita, which was his favorite doll.
Oh, really? He had a favorite doll. Interesting.
Yeah. And I couldn't find pictures of Agustinita because it pulled up, like, I typed it in and it brought up like obviously thousands of dolls, so I don't know which one it was, but if his favorite doll, I'd be curious to see what it is. And also the first doll that he found, I'm assuming the one that washed up after the girl died. But when visitors go to the island, some of them will place offerings around the doll in exchange for miracles and blessings, and some change their clothes and maintain it as a form of worship.
Wow.
So, yeah, that's the island of the dolls. I mean, it's kind of a little short kind of thing, but the island itself, I mean, there's so many videos and articles and pictures that if you want to look at, this thing is legit. and it's scary because some of these dolls have been here since, I don't know, so 50 plus years, and so the sun has like rotted them, so some of their faces are like peeling, and like the eyes are melting, and some of them have like different like arms from different dolls attached to them, and some people put
Melted
like,
eyes.
oh yeah, dude, and some put like baby masks, like full grown baby masks on little dolls, and so it's like this little ass doll with this huge head. Like it's insane. It's scary.
That is like unnerving.
But again, I want to go because I think this is one of those places that you just need to see in person to really get the whole effect. But I
If
think
we ever do that, we'll have to video it. And just so you guys know, I have no fears about that. I will do whatever the fuck anyone asks me to do.
anything.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, for the sake of our show, if we get to a point where we start using video, which I hope we do one day, if we get to travel and do this on the road, yeah, we'll take it. We'll go to the Doll Island. We'll record it, and like Cleet said, I'll even go through the spider webs for you guys. That's how devoted I am. I'll do that shit. I don't even care.
Hey, before we end this, have you heard of the evil Elmo doll?
There's no evil Elmo doll. There's no evil Elmo.
No, dude, I got a story for you. It's so funny.
Oh God.
So you know how like every Christmas there's like a hot toy like that people always want to buy.
Oh yeah.
In 1996, it was a talking Elmo doll. All right.
Was this the Tickle Me Elmo?
I don't know exactly what Elmo deviation it was, but it would like learn to recite the owner's name, and it had some other talking features.
It's like, I'm Elmo.
Yeah, no, exactly. So just like that. So a family found this Elmo doll, okay, and bought it for their kid. The story goes that this parent was washing her dish, and all of a sudden she hears in the other room, "Kill James." Say that for me, Britton. Kill James.
Kill James.
So horrified, she contacts Fisher Price and is talking about it, right? And they go, "Hey, the batteries are a little bit low. Just switch it out." Right?
So when the batteries go low, it just starts threatening people. Are you fucking kidding me?
It learned their kid's name, James, but it was saying kill James. So after they replaced the battery, the Elmo doll got more, what they say, angry, and it kept. So instead of just saying kill James, it kept repeating it on loop really fast, going kill James, kill James,
kill James, kill James, kill James.
Dude, look it up. It's a documented thing. Fisher Price gave him a refund. So that's the end of fucking spooky ass dolls.
I'm sure that Fisher Price would need to do more than give a refund. It's just shouting "Kill James!" Like
their kid. He was like 3 years old.
Oh my God! It's like Chucky, dude. Like Chucky in a fucking Elmo.
Theory has it a programmer there like did that to one doll just to fuck with somebody.
Okay, like a battery goes dead, it stops working. Like it gets lesser. Like it start winding down. It doesn't start going full on murder mode. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So again, to all you guys, we apologize that we haven't posted anything for a couple of weeks. It's been kind of a crazy landscape for us. I do want to say again, our tag off here, which is, as always, thank you for entering the abyss.
Until next week.